Hi, Christian. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
I'm so happy we're getting to do this today. Thank you for having me on.
I am so happy to have you on here. And you're another I was a former Oregonian. How do you say that? Oregonian?
Oregonian, yeah.
Oregonian. And you live at the beautiful Central Coast, which is so absolutely beautiful. It was about an hour and a half from where I lived in Portland. That was my escape to go down there to the beautiful beaches. Like Oregon is simply breathtaking. That the scenery and the woods and the natural beauty is just profound. And a lot of my listeners know how we talked about a little bit before we had record how it's a great place to have a huge awakening. And that was my place where I opened my eyes. So
It is a
welcome,
great
welcome.
place. Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so this little lady here, this beautiful lady that's in front of me, she has so many. I was looking at her accreditation. She's skilled and trained in so many different amazing modalities and about sacred spirituality, which is her name of her website. So we'll give that to you at the end. But I'm really excited to have this conversation because she's facilitated healing for so many people in so many different modalities. And I love how this is in her bio, how she helps people in their personal golden age by stepping into their most love drenched, prosperous, radiantly healthy, sovereign life, AKA their highest timeline. That's pretty amazing. And that's something a lot of people need to be reminded of nowadays as things have gone absolutely bonkshit. There's somebody I follow on Instagram. Instagram, she always talks about batshit bonkers Britain. But yeah, so it's really needed right now because there's a lot of things going on, on the political scene, on the world scene, what's going on in our country. And I believe this is going to be out before the election cycle. And things are kind of ramping up and crazy. But there's also, alongside that, there's this huge spiritual awakening that's happening. People are becoming more aware and awake. And there's a whole upheaval of the current systems. They're crumbling, they're being exposed for what they are, and there's like this whole new consciousness that is being born from it. So many light workers, so many star seeds that are leading the way for others for this whole paradigm and this new earth that is happening and being laid before us. So I know that your work blends mysticism, metaphysical psychology, and writing. You had said that you were in journalism before journalism, and you had a medical crisis that led to the work that you're doing now. You became healed from it. So I would love to hear about your story, about that healing, about how you always wanted to write and you were in journalism, and how you found the path to where you're on now, and what
Yeah.
inspired you to bring all these together.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for this
You're welcome.
beautiful introduction and bringing this all
Sure.
together for us. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but I will say I always had this insatiable curiosity, to understand what the F was going on wherever I was. So my mom
Mhm.
tells stories about me as a little girl, just nonstop. Kids go through the why stage, and she jokes like, I never stopped. I always wanted to know why. And so journalism really called to me because I knew I was a writer. I knew I was here. Words were important for me. So that was like my big aha when I was 12 years old. So I got into writing, but something more was calling me because I'll say I wrote for the Oregonian, I wrote for the, Bend Bulletin. And for those of you that are Oregonians or know
I
Oregon,
have to
those
ask,
papers.
did you know Sarah Price? Because she worked for the Oregonian for a long time.
No, no, I
Okay.
didn't know her. I was always a freelance journalist,
Okay.
but I would have editors say to me, like, you need to find the dirt, like, you need to go find the nasty story. And I'd be like, but there isn't a nasty story, like, so I started becoming disillusioned
Mm-hmm.
with this search for fear-based content, for searching for the negative, for all of that. So that started to open me up a little bit, but it really wasn't until I got sick and had been a very healthy person doing all the healthy things that I started asking more questions, because Western medicine gave me a surgery immediately, because Western medicine loves to cut into the humans and take out their organs. And I didn't ask what they did with the tumor they took, but I can only imagine. So they love to cut into the body. They love to be very invasive. And what happened was they said, we're going to remove this tumor and you're going to be fine. And I wasn't fine. I got worse, and no one could tell me why. and no one could explain it. So I went to all the healers that you could go to, meaning like naturopath, acupuncture. I was still not very awakened at that point. I knew a little bit about Reiki, but I met this woman. I had this synchronistic event where I met this woman, and she started telling me about Brazil and about psychic surgeries and about spiritual hospitals. And just immediately I knew I have to go to Brazil. This is where my answer is. This is where my healing is. And essentially I went to Brazil on like, I had no money, I had no means to do this, but the universe cobbled it together for me. And it was quite dangerous, but I didn't know. So ignorance was really my friend at that point. And I made it there. It was in the middle of nowhere, Brazil. I was prayed over by a woman with this group of people. Within 24 hours, thought I was going to die, woke up from that surgery and was like, I took a nap after the psychic surgery and couldn't move.
Did you feel the hands on you? Because I've heard about how you can feel hands working on you when after you do the healing and then you
So when she was praying over us, I started feeling things moving from my body from the inside out as though there were hands inside my body working. So I had it was womb stuff that was happening for me. That's where the tumor was. So I felt all this movement in my womb, in my knee, in my heart, like everywhere. It was a really intense experience. Everyone started wailing, crying. I did as well, but I didn't even know why. Like your conscious mind was not involved. The minute she started praying over us in Portuguese, like we were in a whole other world. So that experience was super intense for me, but I didn't understand what had happened. So when I woke up from my nap after the surgery, couldn't move, the only thing I knew to do was to start praying. And I was not someone who prayed at this point in my life. In fact, I considered myself agnostic. I started praying, and within a few minutes, my vital life force energy started just slowly coming back in. And I said in the prayer that if I didn't die, I would devote my life to the divine. And so that's what happened. Essentially, like I couldn't walk for 4 days after that. I mean, it was intense. But within 2 weeks of having that psychic surgery, my body was fully healed. I never had any
wow.
other symptoms associated with that illness. I gained all my weight back. Like I left sick. I came back healthy. It was totally extraordinary. And I started having healing energy coming out of my hands. I started psychically knowing things I couldn't
Wow.
possibly know. Everything changed. So then I was on a mission. That little toddler in me that wanted to know why was on a mission to know what happened to me. How is a woman praying over me doing all of that? Like I saw angels when I was there. Beings of light would come in and check on my body every night, and they'd be working on my body, and I did
Wow.
not feel afraid. It was incredible. I saw angels outside other people's doors in this golden light. So I went on a deep dive to understand, as I like to say, quantum physics, prayer, angels, the spirit realm. I mean, I wanted to understand all of it. So I studied every possible modality I could. I went deep into every possible probability as to how this could happen, how I could be
Mhm.
healed in that way. And that got me starting a one-on-one healing practice. That boomed and waitlisted out, and then it was okay, now I'm channeling spontaneously. I was not trying to. And then something that your listeners may resonate with, in 2016 I started being shown this split in consciousness that was coming, and I started asking to understand what really was happening on earth with the political systems, with the whole like matrix that we live in. And I immediately started being shown that it was we live in a hijacked matrix that was hijacked by other beings from a lower plane
Mhm.
of consciousness who trick the humans into giving them power and control over the earth, and that we have been in a spiritual war for some time, and that we are at this sort of peak point where, because of all the light workers over so many years doing so much work, we are at this point where we really can shift earth to a
Mhm.
light place where it's been such a dark place for so long. So I was not expecting that. I was like, help me understand the angels and how to heal the body. And I was believing that the system we live in is the system that we're meant to be in. And then through my inquiry with the divine and through my daily prayer and meditation and spiritual practice, it was revealed to me that what I thought was happening on earth was not.
It's such a huge wake up. And you saw it from a higher perspective, higher plane. You were taken there after your surgery. Like literally sounds like you were gifted with extra sensory perception. You were gifted with healing. Like you said, you wanted to dedicate your life to the divine and they gave it to you. And how, you got a jump start with all that, because a lot of people right now, myself included, was taken down a really dark rabbit hole where it's like, oh my God. And then you have to pull yourself up out of, like, it's like Alice in Wonderland. You go down the hole and then you have to pull yourself back up it. I mean, it took a little while. And I like how you say inner stand. And that is, if you, my audience listeners, have noticed the inner stand, there's word is your wand. And inner stand is to help me understand, because your understanding, your inner being does know. It's just a matter of you bring it up and bring it up to conscious and remembering it. But understand, so if you look at the word, right? Understand, you're under a stand. Is that kind of, you're not going to understand, you're under it. Is
That's
that
right.
kind of?
And I hear some people say overstand, but that feels a little
Mhm.
more dominant to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I really feel like it is about inner standing. Like that's our like the awakened heart. I love the name of your podcast.
Mhm.
Like that inner standing
It's
within our
this.
sacred heart is where it's at, because this is where
Mm.
we're creating from. So we don't have control over, everything that's happening in the artificial matrix, but we do have the ability. And this is what I'm so passionate about, is each of us creating our own personal heaven on earth, our own golden age,
Mhm.
doing our own deeper spiritual work so that we can transcend the limitations of the artificial matrix. And that comes from
Mhm.
inner standing within your heart.
Yeah, I've heard we can all, like, know about, our timeline being hijacked and all that stuff. So, and it makes sense because there is this huge spiritual awakening. We've been in this war of consciousness and spiritual wars for so long. And that's why they're trying to dumb us down, especially with the babies that are being born with all these, I'm going to get bleeped out for this, the pokey pokes that they're getting at very early ages, because they just came over from the other side. There's a lot of children being born now that are star seeds and they're healers. And then we've got the 5G towers and we've got frequencies coming at us left and right, and just the EMFs coming over the TV, and just what we see from the legacy media, that it's just, all this division. It's trying to keep us divided, because I feel like if we come together, we're unstoppable. And they're trying to just kind of dumb us down to keep us from that awakening, like the pineal gland and, all this stuff, the calcification of it and all that, because they know we are rising and they're trying to do everything, especially the women, the divine feminine woman rising. I mean, over the centuries, like the witch trials, which were horrifying, and how the modern religion, 2,000-year-old religion, was turning, Mary Magdalene is one. I know that you do teachings on her. She's a whore. And women are
Of
subserving and
course,
all that. But we were
we're so
goddesses and worshipped, So
That's exactly.
yeah.
It's so inverted, So what I tell folks is just look at whatever's in the mainstream and turn it on its head, and that's going to be the truth,
Mm-hmm,
So there
mm-hmm.
is such a diminishment of the feminine. The Catholic Church finally had to grant Mary Magdalene saint status after years. I mean, generations, thought hundreds of years. I mean, time is a whole thing too. We don't have to necessarily go into what we've been programmed to believe time is, it isn't, and all of that. But the Catholic Church and religions were calling Mary Magdalene a whore for so long. And then finally, because so many people knew that wasn't true, they finally gave her saint status as if to try to appease people from finding out who she really is, which is a goddess. And it's a totally, you
I
know,
just got chills like all over my body. That's like when the angels are talking to me.
that's right. That's
But yeah, there's the Gospel of Mary, and that was the one that was closest to Jesus in his time. And of course, that got buried. Yeah,
it's powerful.
undo these narratives. I've
And
always,
that is really, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. I want to hear you.
I was just going to say that's the call of this time, though, and that's why I love your podcast, Awakened Heart, and that we are really being invited into awaken our hearts into who we really are, because that is the transcendent energy. So one of the messages I keep getting from my connection to the divine is that the artificial matrix is terrified of us. They want the other storyline to be there, right?
They need to feed on that fear energy. That's how they feed.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's why they're taking down the podcast episodes. That's why they're trying to diminish the light. But there's no way to do it. It's already here and it's already done that we have awakened to a new level. Now, will we do it all here on Earth, or will we have to leave Earth to complete the full experience of our ascension? I'm not certain on that, but I do know that our light is more powerful than anything else that is here, and they are afraid of it. And obviously, if you look at what's happening in the world, it's desperate attempts to suppress the light.
It's upside down world. Like, what is this?
So desperate. You wouldn't do such crazy things if you weren't totally desperate.
No, no. And I get so triggered. And I have to look at, okay, why am I getting so triggered when I sink too much into what's going on the world stage, and I have to like distract myself from it. I have to pull away from it because sometimes I do get pulled in. And one of my triggers is truth and lying. They're lying, they're lying, they're lying. This isn't true. And that's been a theme throughout my whole life. I was tried as a witch maybe multiple times in my past life, but I look at how I'm reacting to what's going on in the world, a reflection of what's going on within myself. How am I not being truthful to myself? Or what is this that is triggering this part of me? I mean, I get so triggered, like, you're lying. Just tell the truth. My God, you're gaslighting. So yeah, it's crazy.
And I love that you do that. And I want to just expand on that because I think that's really powerful to look at anything that triggers you and go, okay, where is the vibrational match? Because I wouldn't be being triggered if there wasn't a vibrational match. However, some of the work that I teach and in my certifications and my healing modality, we talk about that vibrational match may actually be your ancestral line, your other lifetimes.
I'm
Like it
thinking,
isn't necessarily you're the liar. It's that you've had lifetimes where you perhaps been persecuted because of the lies that were
absolutely.
being told. Yeah. So, but we can deactivate that karma. So that's
Hmm.
something that I'm teaching and really trying to empower as many light beings as possible is when you notice those triggers, just know that you can transcend those karmic imprints. And it's really important that we revoke our consent in all the ways that we've given consent to the matrix manipulating us. So again, that's big in the work that I'm doing now and teaching other light beings how to do this because we can free ourselves. And that is really the call. Will everyone go with us? Again, I'm not certain that will happen, but
Right.
we will be able to free ourselves if we're dedicated and devoted like I am and like so many of us are.
And that's part of your spiritual healing, your spiritual studies, correct?
Yes, yes. It's called Sacred Spirituality Coach Certification, where it's spiritual studies for any spiritual being on the earth, but also it gives them the tools to heal themselves and also heal others. And they can make that their, quote unquote business or work in the world, or they can just do some of my coaches just are doing it for their loved ones and for their family and for their children. However you want to use the healing modality, all that matters is that you're freeing yourself and any others that you're called to help free as well.
That's fantastic. Before we go on to the next question that I'd like to ask you, I want to go back to your healing episode, healing, your tremendous healing, and your gift of like your second sight and all that you had after that, all your beautiful gifts that you received after healing your body. I have a question for you. I had this really crazy experience once with a Yoni egg because I saw that you do the one on the femininity. What is that one? I don't have that up right now. Let me
Well,
find
I
it.
did some training. I did some trainings with the jade eggs and sacred sexuality and all of that. So yeah, tell
Yes.
me what happened with the egg. Yeah.
Yes, it was crazy. Where is that one certification? It was the Jade Pleasure. But I know who Jade is. You go through that. I know who does the Jade Pleasure. It's pretty. I heard it was pretty fantastic, that course. Okay, so the Yoni egg. I got the Jade egg. This was probably in 2018, years ago, and I did a little ceremony and I put it in for the first time. I don't know what happened. It wasn't even a sexual pleasure, but literally my whole body vibrated for 45 minutes at least. I was transported to other dimensions, other planes. I was still on the couch, but I was above it. And I understood everything. I saw everything. I'm like, I understand. Like I understood everything, the meaning of the universe. I understood everything in my life. I saw everything. Part of my consciousness was like, what is happening? I'm not drunk.
Yeah.
I'm what? I'm like, oh, what is going on? I'm like, I want to use this all the time if this happens. But I felt so connected. I felt so wrapped in love. It never happened again after that. But it was like, where in the world did I go with that thing? It was, do you know what might have happened? Like I've done Aya, I've done breath work, but it was just that one time, the first time. I didn't want to come back. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had a Kundalini awakening. So the jade egg activated. So, of course, our perineum is
amazing.
right in between the introitus, yeah, outside the
Mhm,
vaginal opening, but also the yoni is like a portal of light. So,
mhm,
I mean, this is, I believe our body is a divine technology and we just haven't been working with it correctly because, of course, the matrix doesn't want us to know that. So, there are portals within our body and the yoni is one of those portals. So, the shaking lets you know your Kundalini was coming
mhm,
online. So, I
mhm,
don't believe in consciously trying to activate the Kundalini. It's a very intense nervous system. So, it should only happen naturally. And that's what happened for you. So
mhm,
the jade egg activated that Kundalini awakening, and then you were able, because the Kundalini nervous system runs from the perineum all the way up to the top of the head. And that is our Shashuna channel. That's, I mean, all of our chakra centers. Like, so essentially, your Kundalini came online and you got access to the spiritual sight that you're meant to have, that we all are
It was
meant to have.
amazing. It was
Awesome.
amazing, but why didn't I have it again? I mean, my life changed. I did pick up and move from California to Portland, and a lot of things happened, awakening, and now I'm back in Michigan, but it never happened again that way, and I was like, "Man,
Are you
I start
meditating every
practicing it again."
day?
No, I've been so bad since I March. I haven't in a while. I've been very in my head, and I need to get back into my body, and I know
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
And so it's typical that we'll have like one of those really big events, like what you had, where it's just like, oh, and then we
Mhm.
can kind of
Mhm.
try to be chasing having that experience again. But what we really need to do is daily meditation, daily connection with your higher wisdom. And then how it comes in is just your intuition increases. Like it's more gentle. We usually have the big event and then it's more gentle from there on, but we need the spiritual practice to help integrate all of that. But yes, you totally had a Kundalini awakening.
Uh,
And I love that then you went to Portland after that, where you had your
yeah.
awakening to the
Yes.
Matrix piece. And yeah, that's amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, thank you for putting that into, like, a diagnosis. It was a God, that's so cool. I had a Kundalini awakening because it was like,
Yes. Yeah.
oh my god, it was amazing, just wrapped in love
So
and
magical.
understand, yes.
Yes.
And then when I left,
Yes.
I'm like, "I need to remember this." Of course, I didn't remember what it was that, all-seeing, like, showing everything. It's like in a Aya where oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
No, I wanna hear what you say. It's better than what I'm gonna say. What was you
No, not at all. I think we have a little lag. Sorry about that. Just that your subconscious does remember it. So the conscious mind
mm,
doesn't, but that still, that having that awakening, that imprint lives within you. So that's why the daily meditation and everything will just help like cultivate it and nurture it. And then you will either have dreams or you'll get insights and meditations that'll give you more of those conscious pieces will start coming through because it is imprinted in your technology.
okay. I will get back into I really need it now because there's a lot going on in my life. I mean, everyone has something going on in life, but I really have something going on in my life that I really need to get back into my body and tune into my guides and the divine around me because I can't do it all on my own. So, I want to talk about some of your book. Your books span visionary fiction, paranormal romance, and channel message oracles. How do these genres allow you to express your spiritual insights? And what do you hope readers gain from your work?
Yeah, so I've been just in love with books and writing ever since I was a little girl. So I knew I would write, and I just never knew what I was going to write. And I had my spiritual awakening in 2008 that I talked about with the psychic surgery. And then in 2012, as I had some time with one of my mentors, and as I was leaving that, the whole outline to a book downloaded into my consciousness. I literally like parked my car, got out of it,
Oh,
ran into my house or my apartment at the time and like typed up the outline. And that became my first novel, which was titled The Quest, A Tale of Desire and Magic. That book was optioned for a film in 2012. We had a publisher. There was a lot of energy movement around it. And it really put me on this whole other path I hadn't imagined. I never thought I would write fiction, but I ended up writing 3 spiritual romance books in that series. And after I wrote that book, and it before it came out, but after I wrote it, that are a lot of the things that happened to the character in the book started happening to me. And then in my next 2 books from the quest, I wrote about those experiences and shared more. And then what started happening is then when readers would read my books, they started having magical things happening to them. So that was my first fiction series. Then from there, I started channeling in 2015. I started spontaneously channeling. I was not
Wow.
trying to, it just started happening. And so, I just started publishing on my blog, like, I don't know what this is, you guys, but this is happening, because I would just go into the zone and start typing and all of this information would come out. So then people were reading the blog and they're like, I'm having like a spiritual awakening. My Kundalini is activating. I'm starting to shake. I'm seeing all these visions. All these things are happening. So then we put them into books to make them as oracles so that people could have them at home. And just, if you have a question, just ask the oracle and it will tell you. And people are having amazing experiences with that. And then we wrote a daily guide so that there's just a daily reading, a channeled reading every day. And we called that Love Now. And then Mary Magdalene came to me in 2020 and said, "Okay, I'm running the show now. I'm gonna guide you here." So then she started guiding me exclusively. We wrote her book, which exposes the truth about the whole crucifixion storyline. All of that is nonsense. So she totally exposes the whole like real story of what really happened with her and Jesus, and how their story got hijacked by the church, and it's phenomenal and fascinating and just like blew my mind. And then we just started a new fiction series, a spiritual romance series called The Angelics. And that is really like, how do we, knowing what we know as light beings, how do we thrive on Earth, given what we know about the agenda and everything that's happening? And it's a love story. So it's really been an amazing way for me to share what the information I receive from the divine with others, and the fiction is a fun way to bring it into a story that's really engaging. And the oracles, I want my books to be actionable. I don't want you to just read it and then like that's it, or read part of it and then that's it. So the oracles, I still use them, and my clients use them, and my coaches use them, and it's incredible. There's the way that they're able to guide us, the divine, through these oracles. And then the spiritual fiction is giving us so much. In fact, I have women meeting their beloveds after they read the spiritual fiction, having similar synchronicities as my
It's like the
characters. I mean,
Celestine prophecy, it sounds like, where people read that and then things happen in their life. That's
that was
profound.
my hope. Yes, I love Celestine prophecy. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Ooh, I wanna get that and read that.
it's really fun. It's really fun and
Yes.
magical.
So you had mentioned earlier your sacred spirituality coach certification and love territory guide certification, and they're designed to help individuals step into their highest timeline. Could you explain what this concept means? I know you talked about a little bit about how our timelines were hijacked, and what the concept means and how it can transform someone's life. So how course can help transfer their life, and how they can act in their highest timeline, especially with what's going on in our world right now.
So I'm going to go this might be too esoteric. I don't know, but I'll share what I know about the timelines. And
Okay, great.
obviously I tell people, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So my understanding is that before we incarnated, we had a highest timeline, meaning it was our original timeline. This is what we're going to come here and do on Earth. It's going to be so fun. We're going to meet these different people. We're going to do all these things. Then we came to Earth, and we knew that the agenda had hijacked it, but when you're coming from that broader perspective, you think it's going to be no problem. But then we come to Earth and shit gets real. And what happens is that we succumb to various temptations, and we get caught up, and we get off path, and we get onto scenic routes. Now, of course, you've got the different jib jabs and different things that help take the human off path, because those things are directly disconnecting us from the pineal, which is our spiritual download center. So there are solutions to that. So I have a pineal decalcification, nutritional support that I recommend for all my, all my coaches and guides and my clients and people who want to hear. So there's ways we can get around this, but essentially we come to earth, we think it's going to be easy. It's not. We fuck it up, and then we get stuck in samsara. And that is what the hijacked agenda wants. It wants us in this perpetual cycle of death and rebirth. However, there is always this original or highest timeline available to us, and we can always jump off this loop of samsara. We are at a critical point now where essentially the collective powers that, how could I say this? In my Angelics book, it talks about this a little bit more, but essentially there was a defining point, and 2020 seems to be one of those defining points where, okay, time is up, hijacked agenda. Like, we need to restore Earth to its natural state. That doesn't take off the responsibility for all of us to heal up our karma from the lifetimes where we were on scenic routes and messing about, including this lifetime. And this isn't about perfection, meaning not without flaw, but meaning we're not actively harming anyone or anything, including ourselves. So that's a big way to clean up our traumas. So essentially what I've been shown is that in order to reunite with our highest timeline, we have to rid our body of toxins and trauma. So so they started bringing me in 2020 detox processes for the physical body. What we teach in the Sacred Spirituality Coach certification is how to release trauma and toxins from the human body, and then how to support others with that. And then in our Love Territory Guide certification, we teach how to work with the earth and partner with the earth to also support the animals, the wildlife, the plants, and the earth, and also thriving. And that is a collaboration between light beings and the earth. So everything that we teach is meant to release people from the cycle of samsara, or the prison, or the entrapment, whatever folks want to call it, so that we can return to what our original intention was here on earth. So I know that's a lot, but you did ask and I wanted to give a good answer.
I really understand all that. And you had talked about nutrition being part of it and getting the toxins out of the body. And you have a metaphysical menu which combines spiritual nutrition with dance baking. What is dance baking? That sounds so fun. Can you tell us more about how food movement and spirituality intersect in your life and work?
Yeah, thank you. So I've always been focused around health and well-being because it just felt good to me. But I thought I was like super healthy. So in 2020, when Mary Magdalene came to me and said, listen, I'm going to be running the show, one of the first things she brought me was that our bodies are super polluted. Even those of us who think like me, I was gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, sugar-free because I had so many food allergies. And so her message to us has been, we need to detox the glyphosate out of the body, because glyphosate is also poisoning the human body and taking us offline from our spiritual divinity. So we need to detox the glyphosate out, and we need to cleanse the pineal and decalcify it. And so she brought me to an organic superfood nutrition company so that I could get the superfoods, get them to my people, and we could all start detoxing. And we've been doing that. And because we're getting hammered with EMFs and the pollutants, and if you're using Western medicine, you're really getting even more. So we've got to cleanse the physical body in order to ascend. And I mean ascend like coming in alignment with who you really are while in your body. And also, it was revealed to me through my connection with the divine that we take those toxins with us. And I don't want to take glyphosate into my next lifetime. I don't want to take the pineal decalcification into my next lifetime. So the nutrition is actually such a huge foundational component of our ascension and of becoming who we really are. And what's interesting to me is that I notice people have a lot of resistance to this, like massive resistance. And there's so much programming in religion and even in New Age spirituality that says your body's just a meat suit and you can't take the body with you, so it doesn't matter. But it turns out that we do take whatever is unresolved with us. And I learned that in my one-on-one sessions with people. I started seeing trauma from other lifetimes and toxins from other lifetimes in their current body. I was like, how is that possible? But that gets imprinted into the soul and it goes with us. So it's
Mhm.
very, very important that we clean up what we're taking in. It doesn't mean we can't have fun with food. I don't know. People have a lot of resistance because food represents
For sure.
survival, right? So it triggers people. But you got to work through those triggers because your high vibration nutrition is just as important as your spiritual practice. It's just as important as anything else.
Mm.
So I love to bake and to, mixology, do a lot of fun combinations with my different healing powders and smoothies and things like that. Of course, the powders do not have glyphosate or heavy metals. This is very important. Make sure if you're using any superfood powders or anything of that nature that they are multi-tested because it's very easy for heavy metals to get into powders. So you need to check the consciousness of whatever you're taking in. That's a whole other conversation we could go into maybe some other time, but for now we'll just say like high vibration nutrition, very, very important to your physical body in this now moment and also in future lifetimes. And then I love to dance while I'm while I'm baking and concocting and creating. So I call it my dance baking because I love to bring as much light into this because there's a lot of, we talk about the glyphosate poisoning. If we talk about what's happening to the pineal, that can be some really heavy, dark stuff.
Mhm.
So I recommend dance parties whenever you can to bring in light and to move the energy.
I'm gonna do that because I have to make my cranberry bread. I've got a lot of it prepped. I just have to do the final stages. I'm gonna dance and bake it.
Yes,
Now,
do.
yes, I'm going to. And I've seen a lot on my when I'm scrolling through my Instagram. The mana movement, are you familiar with that? That's something that I've been wanting to do. It's like feminine embodiment and it's like it's a meditation. You're doing all these moves. I've seen them. They're so you know what I'm talking about, right? How beautiful it is. That's something that I've been looking to pick up because, get up, sit down, drink the coffee, sit down all day, like not getting enough movement in. I mean, even yoga, I think compounds a little bit, but this just that free flowing movement just seems like really a great thing to pick up. And also, I put words on my water cooler like love, harmony, on what, on that's another good thing to practice as well. Yeah, and glyphosate is in everything, and a lot of stuff they're doing in our country, it's banned in other countries, but they're trying to shut down small farmers now, like, they're really going after them. They just murdered all these chickens for no reason because well, that's we could just go into that rabbit hole, but it's unfortunate because a lot of local farmers I gotta get back up here, they're crushing them. They're putting them out of the business because they want them to use these poisons. They're making it really hard to grow healthy food without all the chemicals in it, and it's just really sad to see, and all the farmers' protests that were happening a while ago, I don't know if those are still going on. Are those still going on?
I don't know. I think right now what I'm seeing is the farmers are getting savvy and finding, one of the things my guide said to me was we have to zig where they zag. So we just have to keep finding solutions. So the solution I've been brought is Purium Organic Superfoods, and they partner with small farmers, regeneratively grown nutrition. If you're interested, I can, give you a link to place, but
Sure.
definitely check them out because it is incredibly high vibrational nutrition. It is all glyphosate free, and they're actually partnering with farmers. And right now, big agriculture pays the farmers to put the glyphosate. So Purium is coming in and paying the farmers not to. And so we are
That's
creating a movement. We are creating a movement to really be able to get glyphosate free food into as many people's bellies and lives as possible because it is so rampant. And the United States allows 1,500 parts per billion of glyphosate in organic food, folks. Italy only allows 10 parts per
wow.
billion.
Mm,
So the
it's
United States,
insane.
even with the organic food,
It's not
they're
necessarily
messing with
organic.
us. It
Mhm,
still
and
has glyphosate in it. It's nuts. So
natural
Purium,
flavors are
exactly. Purium has the only glyphosate removal solution right now because they are just working so hard. There's a spiritual mission behind them to rid the food system of the glyphosate. But yeah, the farmers are just having to find new ways to get to make their living. And I believe this is a very good thing because we need them to disconnect from the big money that's been paying them. Big food has been paying them to spray, all their crops with glyphosate.
It's incredible when I really saw what they were putting into these foods. Like I have to look, I like my whipped cream and my coffee. And so I'm trying to find something that's just whipped cream. I mean, you get the guar gum, but then there's the carrageenan and everything. I'm like, I look at that, I'm like, nope, nope. And it's like organic. I'm like, carrageenan, nope. Like that's horrible. Like, can we just have ice cream with cream, milk, sugar, and eggs? So yeah, being cognizant of what you're putting into your body and even going that extra level that I'm sure you do because there's things that I'm eating that I mean, I could probably clean up my diet a lot more, but and then it's being suppressed out there as medical misinformation. And it's being suppressed like all these natural healing remedies that have been around for thousands of years. They're being suppressed as alternative or, if they actually work, people get suicided or they disappear or all these like crazy things happen. So, but like I said, we're in a spiritual battle and we are going to win. We are winning. So, what advice would you give someone? So, there's so much coming at us, like what we were just talking about, from, what's going on in the world stage to our food that we were just talking about. What advice would you give to someone just beginning their spiritual journey, especially those who may feel overwhelmed by the vast amount of information and practices available? And there's so much propaganda going on. For me, it's easy to spot like, right away. But what kind of advice would you give someone that's just beginning their journey?
We can keep it really simple because I agree with you. There is so much information and people can feel really overwhelmed. And it can be overwhelming to take in all the, disclosure that's happening. That can feel really overwhelming. So keeping yourself grounded and centered is really important. So these would be my three things I would say for anyone starting out or anyone who's feeling overwhelmed. These are the three things that will ground you, anchor you, and provide you with clarity. So the first is a daily meditation practice of 22 minutes minimum. And you can do guided meditations. You can do silent meditations. You can put on, 432 hertz on YouTube or Spotify and meditate to that for 22 minutes. The point is not to delete thought. The point is to just be in your body and focus on your breath. And if any inspired thought comes in, that's great. You can accept that. We're not trying to sort of the old school belief system is no thought. And we're receiving stations. We just want to make sure we're receiving from source, from our higher self, from who we really are. So daily meditation with your focus on your breath and connecting with your higher self, perfect. That
And
is
do you
going to
have
help.
I'm listening to you. Do you have I know you said it could be any time, but I know some people say, "Get up at 4:30 in the morning and do it." Or at a certain time of the day. I know some that do it in the morning, it really propels them for the rest of the day. It really helps keep everything in perspective. Or at nighttime before you go to bed, because then it's going into your sleep world as well. Do you have a time where you find that it's from your experience that it's more powerful, or it just depends on the person?
Totally depends on the person, and that kind of rigidity will get people off
Right.
their game. So I
Yes.
just say anytime you can do it is great. If you find it works better for you in the morning, perfect. If it's better in the night, perfect. Like just make sure it happens, because what
Okay.
happens is people are like, "Oh, I missed it in the morning," and then they let it go really easily. Consistency is huge. You have to build the momentum of a higher frequency within yourself, and to do that you need daily practice, daily
Mhm.
consistency. It does not have to be at a certain time from what I've been shown from spirit and in my own journey. I've been meditating every day since 2008. Sometimes it's in the afternoon, sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the evening. Does not matter. You can connect to source at any time.
That's great. Okay, so that's the number one thing. What's the you have 3 things. So what's the
Yes.
second one?
The second one is your nutrition, which we were talking about. So you need to be detoxing your body gently and easefully at least twice a year. Do a detox. But you can do something even better than that, which I found, which is to just live a detox lifestyle, which is you're just every day taking crack cell chlorella and biomedic from Purium, and you're just every day allowing that glyphosate to be cleared out if you're interacting with glyphosate foods, which I mean, we all are. It's very difficult to get around that. You can, for as little as $12 a day, you can have high vibration nutrition. There are people that are spending so much money on crap food every day, and we don't have to do that. It'll totally change. Like how I grocery shop is totally different now because I get all my superfoods, and now I just need some things from the farmer's market. I order some other things that I know are super clean to work with that. And now you're having a way better experience. And then if you go out to eat and you have something that you know probably wasn't organic, you have superfoods to help clear that out.
Mhm.
So get yourself on a foundational detox lifestyle diet. And I don't mean diet like this is going to change. This is our lifestyle, is that we know that we've got heavy glyphosate poisoning in the food system. We know even the organic food is carrying it. So we find as pure of foods as we can and we focus on those. And when we're not able to have those, then we take biomedic, cracked cell chlorella, other superfoods to help clear it out. And if
Mm.
people want more on that, you can go to ishoppurium.com and my code is metaphysical menu and you can get $50 off your first order. But whatever it is that you choose, I love Purium because of the spiritual consciousness. Whatever you choose, just make sure there's no heavy metals, no glyphosate, that it is fully clean food. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is you need a spiritual toolkit. You need psychic tools to help you with what's happening with the entity energy in the artificial matrix, with the various means that you're getting sort of hammered by the agenda to fall in line with whatever it's putting out. So I have a superpowers guide, which gives you psychic tools to clear your body mind of this, to work with your limiting beliefs, fears, and traumas in a way that frees you. So that would be like a base level of just like those three things. If you're meditating every day, you have the Purium nutrition, and you're doing clearing. And I would do daily RTS. We call it RTS. So it's return to source, daily clearing out of psychic energies. You're going to be grounded. You're going to
Mhm.
be clear. You're going to be able to hear your intuition or receive your intuition. You're not going to get pulled out of balance with all the influx of information. You're not going to be chasing bright and shiny things. You're going to just be way more grounded and centered so you can make choices that really support you. And then when you feel like you've got that, then you want to look at paying it forward and passing that on and being able to share that with others. And that's why we created the 2 healing certifications. So then
Mm.
you can study, go even deeper, and then share it with others and pay it forward and give them these 3 tools and guide them when they need guidance and support them through their healing process. Get them set up and then they learn it and then they share it. We just keep passing it forward.
Yes, paying it forward. And that leads me perfectly into the segue of how can people find and work with you? What is the best website? And you've talked about the certification course. I would love to include your link for the Purium foods, the superfoods, and all that. So if you can let our audience members know, and then I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. Can I talk to show
You're
notes?
great. You're great. Thank you.
Mm.
So, yes, you can find everything connected with me at sacred-spirituality.org. I have a spiritual healer compass quiz that you can take to see what kind of spiritual healer you really are, how you're best meant to give your gifts in this lifetime. I've got meditations for those of you starting a meditation practice or wanting to dive back in or deepen your meditation practice. I've got some free goodies there for you and a free connection to my metaphysical menu site that has organic superfood recipes and connections to the organic superfoods. So that'll give you a connection point with everything I offer. And of course, I want to say, I don't use AI as much as I can not use it. Of course, I might use it in a search function, but meaning if you message me, I'm actually going to receive your message and I will
That's nice.
actually message back. So if you get stuck, if you're confused, if you're like, I don't know which would be best for me, message me and I'm happy to tune in and support you.
That's wonderful in this age of like human representative agent. We're
Yeah,
like,
I
I'm
agree.
people are busy right now. I'm your AI and I can help you. And it's like you can't.
You can't, you really can't.
Can't.
Yeah, I'm an
So
actual human. I have people say like,
yes,
is this you responding to the email or is this, no, this is
wonderful.
actually me. Yes.
It's wonderful. That in itself is its weight in gold. So, all right. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. Just like two more quick questions. I would love to know, how do you see your work evolving in the coming years?
Well, we are really shifting into, and I talk about this a lot, a golden age frequency, which people might call the Aquarian age as well. So, meaning we are accessing the higher timeline, even though we are where we are right now. And that's really important that those of us who are awakened are accessing the highest timeline of the golden age and we're anchoring it and bringing it here as much as we can in our own life.
You're solar feminine. You're like Yeah, the solar feminine, the dark feminine, the change maker. That's what you are, and being open and being curious to it, to always questioning what's being given to you. Well, Kristian, it's been a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for joining me today and my lovely audience members on the Awaken Heart podcast.